Hey guys, welcome back to Life of Bliss. My name is Kyle, and today I'm going to be going over my review of the 𝗏𝗀𝗃𝗏𝗃𝗏 Ultra Short Throw Projector and the Elite Screen's Kestrel DarkUST Fluorizing CLR screen. All right, so let's just start with, holy cow, this image is pretty incredible. Now, I've had an ALR screen from Elite Screens in my setup before, as well as the Cine material from Carl's Place, and I've also tested a few other materials from Carl's Place. But I did not know that a projector could look this good with this much ambient light, especially with the amount of windows that we have down here. This is a really sharp and bright image with the 2500 lumens from 𝗏𝗀 and this awesome screen from Elite Screens. So I am really impressed with this image so far. Now, I'm probably going to comment on this several times during the video, but that's just because I am so impressed with how it looks with all these lights. This setup is the real deal. Now let's move on to the Elite ProAV Kestrel DarkUST Fluorizing screen and what makes it so great for a setup like this. Now, this screen comes in a 120-inch and a 100-inch version, which I currently have now. The case housing the screen is roughly 97.2 inches wide, 5.6 inches tall, and 8.3 inches deep. Now, I couldn't find a weight from the manufacturer, but I would say this is roughly about 40 pounds. You can move this on your own, but it's going to be a lot easier if you have one person on either end of the screen. Along with the screen, you'll get a power cord, an infrared and radio frequency remote, and a USB dongle for automatic raising and lowering. Now, there are plenty of ways to get this screen to actuate up and down. The first one is going to be on the side of the projector, where you'll find a three-way toggle switch. Flip the switch up to raise the screen, back to the middle to stop if need be, and down to lower the screen. This is useful if you happen to misplace the remotes, but the more common method you'll probably use is either the infrared or the radio frequency remote. If for some reason you need to use the IR remote, the IR sensor is tucked back behind the screen housing. The easier of the two remotes is the RF remote. It's non-directional, so you don't need to be pointing it directly at the screen for it to work. Both remotes have the same button layout and function with only 3 buttons. One to raise the screen, stop it at a certain height, and to lower the screen. I found the remotes very responsive and easy to adjust if you needed to have the screen position anything other than fully erect. The screen doesn't take too long to rise up, roughly 10 seconds, which is faster than this projector takes to start casting an image. The mechanism that raises and lowers the screen are scissor-backed cross-spring risers, which you can see functioning here. The screen unrolls as it rises and is held tight on each side with tabs and a tensioner line. The screen itself is the DarkUST ceiling light rejecting material from Elite ProAV and is specific for UST projectors. It has a gain of 0.6 and rejects up to 95% of overhead light. And as I'll talk about here more in a moment, it does a fantastic job at doing so. Along the bottom, there is roughly 6 inches of matte blackout material to reduce light bleed along the bottom of the screen. Once the screen is raised up, the total height of the screen is roughly 62 inches. So there's all the specs, but how does the screen look and is it practical? Well, setup-wise, this is the easiest screen I've ever set up. You can literally take it out of the box, set it on the ground, and you're one button press away from a 100-inch screen. Setting up the projector itself is a bit more of a process, but in my setup video I did for these two products, I had things up and running in about 10 to 15 minutes. If you need the screen somewhere other than the floor, you can either do what I did and set it up on a media cabinet. Now, another huge thing to consider is just how portable a system like this is. Sure, it's still going to be 90 inches long anyway you cut it, but once that screen is lowered, you have a 100-inch screen inside of a case that you can move anywhere you need, and the only setup that you need to do is plug it in, hit a button, and it's ready to go. Another thing I love about this setup is the ability to use a TV set behind the screen for things that we wouldn't normally use a projector for. You can have a TV on the media console or mounted on the wall behind the screen and easily raise it up when it's movie time and you want a bigger, more immersive experience. We actually do that a lot down here in our basement. We are down here most of the time and we're either listening to music during the day or the kids are watching shows during the day, so we don't really feel the need to use that projector, so that is a nice option for us to have. The image quality of this screen is excellent. Colors pop like I mentioned earlier, edges are crisp, and the CLR effect does a fantastic job blocking out light. Here's an idea of how the screen looks compared to the standard white material that Elite Screens offers. The 0.6 gain screen makes for some excellent contrast, though you will want a fairly bright projector to pair with this screen since it has such a low gain. But from what I've seen, any of the newer UST projectors have excellent output to offset the gain of the screen. Viewing the screen from about a 45-degree angle has not been an issue, and I haven't noticed a big difference in color or brightness when going off axis. Now, one awesome thing that the screen does is the ability to raise and lower it when powering on or off your projector. It does this with the included USB dongle that you can plug directly into the projector. When plugged in, it sends an RF signal to the screen whenever it senses the projector is turned on or off. This makes automation that much easier for those of you who like a one-button setup to turn your system on and off. Now, the function of the screen raising is very smooth, but it does tend to sway a bit when it first reaches its resting height. Now, this isn't a problem after a few seconds, but I wouldn't be surprised if you had some swaying if there was a ceiling fan directly above the screen blowing air onto it. One nice safety feature the screen has is along the top edge of the housing, both in the front and the back. You can see this rubber line spanning the length of both sides. This is a pressure-sensitive strip that will recognize if something or someone is getting pinched as the screen lowers. Now, I was a little nervous about how this screen would look after being rolled up for so long. The other screens that I've had after being shipped to me had some little bit of defects in the screen, a little bit of wrinkles, and after, a couple of days being stretched out on their frames, those went away. But to my surprise, this screen has 0 wrinkles and 0 defects in it once it's fully raised. The tab tension system really works well to flatten out the surface and gives you a smooth image. Now, over the past month, I have raised and lowered the screen well over 100 times and probably closer to 200 at this point, just with normal viewing and testing, and it has functioned flawlessly. Every single time. There have been 0 issues with it raising or lowering and getting that nice flat screen once it's all the way up. Now, before you let the price scare you, yeah, I get it, $4,500 is a lot to spend on a screen, but in my eyes, this is intended for a very specific type of customer. Either you need to be able to access what's behind it, either a TV, or you're covering up a window that you don't want covered up all the time, or you need to be able to have a high quality image that you can easily move around from time to time, whether it be for work, church, school, or even in your home if you want to, for some reason, move it around from room to room from time to time. So this sort of setup would be perfect for a home that you wanted to have a TV or a screen in front of a window, but didn't want it covered up all the time. So a lot of homes or condos have really great views, and you might not want to be covering all that up. So this sort of setup would allow you to raise your screen whenever you want to watch any content and still be viewable during the day, and then lower it when you want to be able to see out and see those great views. And if this sort of setup is too expensive or you don't need a floor-rising screen, Elite Pro AV also has a wall-mounted model that lowers, that is a little less expensive. Joe and Tell actually just featured one of these in his videos, which I'll link down below. And they also have a fixed frame model of the DarkUST material. The 100-inch version comes in at right around $1,500. And again, it uses that DarkUST material, which is the best CLR, ALR type screen that I've seen thus far. So again, I will be leaving links for everything down in the description below if this is something that you are interested in. So guys, the BenQ V7050i and the Elite Pro AV Kestrel screen have rewritten what I thought was possible with a projector in a space with ambient light. In my last setup, I had a traditional ceiling mounted projector and tested both an ALR and gray screen, as well as had another ALR screen from Elite Screens in there. And this setup blows those two away. This really is an option if you are looking to get a bigger image in a space than say 80 or 85 inches that you can get with a traditional TV nowadays, and you want something 100, 120 inch. This is definitely a good option to go with. You're not going to be getting those dark blacks during the day. There are some compromises, but colors still do pop really well and the image looks fantastic. So again, if you're looking for a larger image, this is a very viable option for daytime and nighttime viewing. So let me know what you guys think of the Elite Pro AV Kestrel DarkUST screen in the comments below. In my experience, this has been the best ambient and ceiling light rejecting screen that I've used so far. Hope you found the review helpful. Thanks to Elite Pro AV for sending out this screen for review. I'll be leaving links down in the description below. I appreciate you watching Life of Bliss, and I will see you soon.